we have another wonderful lesson on time. And it is titled AM and PM. So today we will talk a little bit more about the clock and how our day is divided into something called AM and PM. So our objective for today, boys and girls, students will use AM and PM when telling and writing time. So that's what we'll practice and discover a little more about when we look at the clock. So let's look at our analog clock. We've talked a lot about the analog clock, and we know what each hand helps us or represents. We know the small hand is the hour hand, the big hand is a minute hand. We talked about the numbers, and we noticed that it goes up to 12. So if I ask you how many hours are in one day, and you see that this clock has 12, it goes up to 12. Maybe you remember that we talked about there being 24 hours in one day. So there are 24 hours in one day. And those 24 hours are divided into two parts. Each part is 12 hours long. And these parts are called AM and PM. So we have 12, it goes up to 12, the clock, it marks 12 hours, but it goes around 2 times. So 12 plus 12 equals 24, and that would be one full complete day. So 12, the first part of the day, the first 12 hours are AM, and the last 12 hours are PM. So I made you another beautiful poster which should be very helpful in understanding the difference between AM and PM. So let's look at our clock. So AM actually begins at midnight, what we call midnight. 12 o'clock. 12 o'clock midnight is AM. A new day has begun. And it is still dark outside. So we're sleeping when that happens. And maybe on New Year's Eve, you are awake. That's why people celebrate at 12 midnight, because it is a new day. And if we think of New Year's Eve, we're up at December the 31st when the clock strikes midnight. Everybody's celebrating because it is the beginning of a new day. And New Year's Eve, it's the beginning of a new year. So 12 midnight is when our day begins. And it is still dark outside. And as the hours pass, 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m., the sun might start coming up. Okay, so it might still be partially dark, depends what time of the year, but the sun comes up. So 6 a.m., 7 a.m., 8 a.m., this is when you are already in school. 9 a.m., 10 a.m., 11 a.m. So this is our first 12 hours of the day. If I go back, I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Those are the first 12 hours of the day, and they are AM. Now, maybe you're thinking, what does AM even mean? It is an abbreviation, and it's an abbreviation for, it comes from a Latin word. But guess what? If you are a Spanish speaker, you might think about AM, and you might say antes de mediodía. So the hours before mediodía, which would be 12 noon, are AM. So antes de mediodía. That's what I use to remember what AM is. Of course, I already know it by heart, but I mean, when I was a kid, I used that to help me understand it. So 12 midnight to 11:59 is our AM. And the midday is 12 noon, and it is already PM. So that's when many of us start thinking about lunch or having lunch at noon. Okay, that would be what we call a standard lunchtime. That's when people start having their lunch. And if we think about our AM, let's talk a little bit about AM. We said we were sleeping. We're sleeping for many of those AM hours, 12 a.m., 1 a.m., 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 4 a.m., 5 a.m. maybe 6 a.m., maybe you are already getting up and getting ready for the day. 7 a.m., maybe you're still getting ready for the day, or maybe you're on your way to school. And of course, 8 a.m. is when our school day begins. 9 a.m., we're learning. 10, we are almost coming to an end of our recess. 11 a.m., we're learning. And 12 noon or midday, 12 p.m. is when we are already thinking about lunch. So that was our first 12 hours. Let's think about our second 12 hours of the day. Okay, so our second part. And that is what we call PM. And if you look at my illustration here, you see that the sun is what we see first during the PM because it's daytime. And then it goes into the darkness or nighttime. So PM, when it is 12 noon, it is PM. It's PM, our day's begun. Then we have 1 p.m., 2 p.m., when we're getting ready to end our school day. 3 p.m., you are probably at home. 4 p.m., maybe you're doing your homework. 5 p.m., maybe you're having dinner. 6 p.m., maybe you are playing or doing other activities with your family. 7 p.m., maybe you are taking a shower, taking a bath, getting ready for the next day. And 8 p.m., it's already getting dark, or it's dark. It depends what time of the year it is. And you are getting ready for bed. So you're asleep, 8 p.m., 9 p.m., 10 p.m., 11 p.m. You are asleep. 12, it strikes 12. It is midnight, but if you recall, I told you that a new day begins at midnight. So even though we're in bed and we feel like it's still part of the same day, once it strikes midnight, a new day has begun. And I could go and count my hours. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Those are the 12 hours that make up our PM. And just like I told you, if you are a Spanish speaker, AM, you could think of it as antes de mediodía. PM, you could think of pasar mediodía. Okay, so time that has passed the noon and so on is our afternoon. So PM, pasar mediodía, AM, antes de mediodía. And down here we have 12 hours plus 12 hours equals 24 hours. So I hope that this poster, this illustration was helpful for you to understand how our day is made up. It begins when the moon is out, and it ends when the moon is out again. You know, we go from the moon being out to having daylight. We continue on to having more daylight, and then our day ends with it being dark again. The moon is out. So let's get back to this. So, like I said, the hours from midnight until noon are labeled AM, and the hours from noon until midnight are labeled PM. So we're going to think about some situations, and we'll think through it together and see if these events would happen during the AM or the PM. So let me just raise my chart here. Okay, so Tina's alarm clock woke her at 7 this morning. Okay, so I'm going to use my clock just to help me visualize what time 7 o'clock is, and I get practice with my analog clock. So this is 7 o'clock. So it said Tina's alarm clock woke her at 7 this morning. At 7 o'clock this morning. Did her clock wake her at 7 a.m. or 7 p.m.? Think about it. A.m. or p.m. It's 7 o'clock and she's waking up. So what do you think? 7 a.m. or 7 p.m.? Think about that, boys and girls. if you said 7 a.m., you are correct. The clock woke her up at 7 a.m. And if I refer back to my poster, she's waking up, she's starting her day. So it would be right here, 7 a.m. That is when she is starting her day. Let's look at the next one. It says Lucy's father read her a bedtime story at 8:30 in the night. So I'm going to move my clock to 8:30. Okay, 8:30 or 8:30. So this is when her dad read her bedtime story. Was her bedtime story at 8 a.m. or 8:30 p.m.? So I see that it says he read her the story in the night. It's 8:30 bedtime. Would somebody be going to bed at 8:30 a.m. or 8:30 p.m.? Think about that, boys and girls. 8:30 a.m. or 8:30 p.m.? If you said 8:30 p.m., you are correct. Let's look at our chart just to prove it to you. Okay, so I know 8:30 would be somewhere here, and that's morning. So 8:30 p.m. would be over here, where it is nighttime, and that's when we go to bed. We go to bed in the p.m. hours. Okay, so 8:30 p.m. would have been the correct answer. Let's look at the back. Let's have a few more examples before you get to practice this on your own. So, Sam washed his hands before eating dinner at 6 o'clock. Okay, so he washed his hands at 6 o'clock. Okay, so here's 6 o'clock. Was his dinner at 6 a.m. or 6 p.m.? Okay, so he's washing his hands at 6 o'clock. And the question is asking if his dinner is at 6 a.m. or 6 p.m. Think about that, boys and girls. 6 a.m. or 6 p.m. If you said 6 p.m., you are correct. And if we look over here, we see that 6 a.m., that's morning. That's when some of you might be getting up, and it wouldn't make sense to have dinner at 6 a.m. If we look over here at 6 p.m., that would be our evening already. And that is when people have dinner. So 6 p.m. is the correct answer. I hope you're understanding this, and it becomes easier to you as we go through these examples. I'm going to look at some different phrases that people may say, and then you will think to yourself and answer to yourself, would somebody say this during the a.m. hours or the p.m. hours? So if somebody tells you, good morning, would they be saying that during the a.m. hours or p.m. hours? If you said a.m. hours, then you are awesome. Good morning is something that you say during the a.m. hours. If somebody says, wake up, when would they say that? A.m. or p.m.? Once again, if you said a.m., then you are correct. Somebody might want to wake you up because it is time to go to school. They wouldn't be waking you up when you are already in bed, sleeping and resting for the night. So this would make sense during the a.m. hours. What about it's breakfast time? A.m. or p.m.? If you said a.m., then you are awesome. Breakfast time happens during the a.m. hours, our first part of the day. Good afternoon. There's a big clue there. Afternoon. A.m. or p.m.? If you said p.m., you are amazing. Yes, p.m. It is past the middle of the day. It is the second part of our day, and it is p.m. Time for dinner. AM or PM? If you said PM, you are doing great. Dinner happens in the second part of our day, the second 12 hours of our day. So it is a PM event. What about good evening? AM or PM? If you said PM, you are correct. PM. Good evening. Evening hours are in the second part of our day, so they are PM. Good night. AM or PM? If you said PM, you are a rock star. You got this. Good night would be said during the PM when our day is coming close to an end. So once again, our day has 24 hours. The first part of the day has 12 hours and it is our AM. The second part of our day has another 12 hours and it is our PM. Important information. The day begins at midnight, 12 a.m. And PM begins at 12 noon, which is our lunchtime. That is the midday. So I hope this lesson was helpful to you. And now it's your turn to show me what you learned and what you remember. So, boys and girls, if you remember, we're working out of Volume 2. So that's the book you're going to need for this lesson. And the first page you are going to look at is page 625. And it says AM and PM at the bottom. So you know that that is what we've been working on, and these are the correct pages. And here they want you to think of things that you do during the AM and the day and night. So what things might you do during the day? And what things do you do during the night? And draw pictures. So you would draw something of you doing what you do during the day and what you do during the night. And then you move on to page 626. And I always tell you to pay close attention to the top part of the page, because this top part of the page where it says see and show, they give you a lot of valuable information that will help you be successful in this lesson. So you're going to read that, and then you will begin doing pages 626, 627, and 628. Okay, so those are the 3 pages that I would like for you to do. Actually 4, because it begins with the drawings. But here they're showing you a clock. They're telling you events that are happening. And it is your job to figure out if those events would happen during the AM hours or the PM hours. So let's look back at our objective before we end this lesson. And you could ask yourself and think about how successful you were with understanding what I talked about. So students will use AM and PM when telling time and writing time. So we went through it together, but I want you to think about that and think how you feel about it. Hopefully you have a good understanding of the difference between AM and PM, and hopefully you do really well on this lesson and you are ready to share your answers when we meet during Zoom. So thank you for joining me, and I hope I was helpful in helping you understand AM and PM. Thank you, boys and girls. Bye.